Handicapper Steve here, handicapping the racing from Saratoga Racecourse here on Wednesday. It is the 26th of July, 2023. Gonna look at all the races here on the Wednesday program from the spa, but before I get on to that, remember to please follow me on Twitter at Horse Racing Kid 5 for more selections for race courses around the world. I mean around the world. Join me this Saturday for my King George preview for Mascots. Looks like it's gonna be an excellent race, and also join me for my Jim Dandy preview, which is only gonna have a 4-horse field. It looks like, but it's still gonna be a good kind of Travers Prep race. And then next weekend, you have some great racing with the Glorious Goodwood meeting in the UK. Deauville starts up Sunday for their summer festival. And, of course, you have Whitney weekend, which is always one of the better weekends of the racing year. Just wait until next week. But today's card and this week's card during the weekdays at Saratoga, they're not bad. So we have 10 races to look at. Let's get to it. Starting off with the first race, it's over the hurdles. It's an allowance race going for $70,000 purse. Races for 4-year-olds and upwards. Number 1-2 races here. We have a field of 8 horses, including a part of an entry, going the distance of ground of 3,300 meters, or 2 miles and 1/16 over the hurdle course. I'm going to take as a top selection here the 5-horse Gold. I'm going to go 5-1A-7-3 in the superfecta. 5-1A-7-3 super. Top selection of 5-horse Gold. This 5-year-old gelding by Golden Horn. Douglas Fout trains this one. Bernard Dalton gets the mount. The horse hasn't been seen since the 22nd of October. That came at Great Meadow down in Virginia. 2 miles and 1/8 in the maiden special weight hurdle. And the horse went by 5.5 lengths that day, and basically on the front end, he jumped well. He had the stamina to have the good run in, and he went away with it. A very good run, second start stateside. Coming here to Saratoga the first time, could jump really clearly, could be forwardly paced, which is always good here. I think he could run a good race and win today. Two back, he ran on the 8th of October, 2 miles and 1/8 in the main special weight hurdle, and the horse finished 5th by 9.25 lengths that day, and he just might have needed the race, first start stateside, and just a little bit flat. He couldn't have a lot left in the tank that day. And then his final start in Europe at Dieppe on the 9th of June, 2 miles and 1/8 in a conditional hurdle. He didn't finish the race. He pulled up out of it. Very soft ground. He just never had fluid jumps there. And then his first over the hurdles at Dieppe on the 11th of May. 2 miles and 1/8 in the main hurdle. He finished 3rd by 14.5 lengths. He was with them early on. He got overtaken by slightly better horses on the day, but he didn't run half bad. Coming here today could be forwardly paced off the bench. I'll give him a shot here. I think his second likeliest winner is the 1A horse, L'Empereur. He ran in the Belmont Gold Cup that last month here over at Belmont, 2 miles there on the Widener turf course, and he finished 12th by 22.5 lengths. He beat one horse home, around 7.5 furlongs from home. He had a great middle move, and then just completely crumbled after that. He was very keen that day. He just didn't want to go. Prior to that, down at in Nashville in the main special weight hurdle, he won by a nose, and it was his first victory over the hurdles, and he slowly took time to get into stride, but he jumped well late, and he got the job done. Prior to the hurdles, he had a decent 3rd place finish, again, where he was closing up well. Another horse, he's proven that he's getting better with the hurdles. I'll give him a shot here at Saratoga. He had started here at Saratoga in the past. He actually finished 3rd in last year's Bowling Green under the care of Chad Brown, as a former Chad Brown runner, and he won the Precious Passion over the at Monmouth over the mile and a half last summer. But he starts a new career over the jumps. I'm going to give him a shot here on the ticket. But to recount my selection for the opener from the spot, I'm going to take the 5-horse Gold. Give kudos to the 1A horse L'Empereur. Let's go 5-1A-7-3 super, 5-1A in the early double here. The pick 5 begins with race number 2 now, which is the first flat race of the afternoon. It's a claiming event going for a $72,000 purse. Race 4-year-olds and upwards going for a claim price $40,000. We have a field of 7 horses going 1,400 meters or 7 furlongs on the main track. I'm going to take the 7-horse here, Flint Ridge. Let's go 7-4-1-3 in the superfecta. 7-4-1-3 super. Top selection 7-horse. Flint Ridge, this 5-year-old gelding by Into the Mischief. Linda Rice trains. Jose Lascano gets the mount. Horse has been seen since the 12th of May. That came at Churchill. 6 furlongs and claiming $50,000. And the horse finished 4th by 8.25 lengths that day. And he had a trouble trip down the backstretch where he had to push on the brakes that day. It was a little bit wide late. And he just, they stopped momentum with him. Refreshing since May. With Linda claiming this horse, coming to the new connections now. I'm going to give this horse, a shot off the bench. These horses have been really running well lately. 2 back, the horse ran the 16th of April at Keeneland, 6.5 furlongs, an optional 80 claimer, and the horse finished 6th by 11.25 lengths that day, and he was just wide that day, and just never was really showing up. That was a very tough race, not a claiming 40 that you're going to see today. And then prior to that, he ran at the Fairgrounds 21st February, 6 furlongs off 17 claimer. He won by a half a length, and basically on the front and all throughout. He really put on a show that day. Not as impressive the race before, which was a Start Lounge race at Fairgrounds over the 6th, where he won by 6 lengths, and basically with the 94 Buyer career best race, he kept going. He probably doesn't need the lead, but if he shows up with the lead, it wouldn't be half bad. He won here last summer quite nicely off the pace. I'm going to give this horse a shot at 5-1. Training well at Belmont. I think his second likeliest winner is the 4-horse Silk Trade for Robertina Diodora and Ira Ortiz. Another horse hasn't been seen since getting claimed at the Keeneland race on the 22nd of April. 7 furlongs there and a claiming 6-250, and he won by 1 3/4 lengths that day. From a tracking trip, he took off clear, getting Irad back up, who rode the horse last time out. Shouldn't be a problem. He's making a Saratoga debut, but his races in the Midwest could definitely win against these horses. Down in class. 5-2. I would use this horse in the pick 5 to begin it off. But to recount my selection for the second from the spot, I'm going to take the 7-horse Flint Ridge. Give kudos to the 4-horse Silk Trade. 7-4-1-3 Super. 7-4 in your multi-race. First 2-year-old event of the afternoon, the third race. It's a maiden special weight purse, $88,000. Race for maidens, fillies, 2-year-olds here, state breds. We have a field of 13 horses entered. 11 through 13 are AEs, so 10 will go. 1,100 meters or 5.5 furlongs on the Mellon Turf Course. I'm going to take the 7-horse Graham as a top selection. 7-1-10-9 in the superfecta for me. 7-1-10-9 super. Top selection 7-horse Graham. This 2-year-old filly by McLean's Music. Christophe Clement trains. Joel Rosario gets the mount. Horse hasn't been seen since the 15th of June. That came at Belmont. 5 furlongs in the Widener Turf Course in main special weight. And the horse finished second by a length that day. And going around the far turn, he had to put on the brakes, a lot like the horse in the previous race. But that, cost him the victory. He was closing up well late. He just missed, but he ran his heart out that day. Coming here with a better trip, hopefully he could show some speed. I think he get a good trip and win. He's definitely been improving with every single race. They started him on dirt before the 28th of May at Belmont, 5 furlongs in the main special weight for state breds. He finished 5th by 8 1/4 lengths that day, and he just was, with them early on. He got overtaken late. The winner of the Wine Stewart was the next start winner. This horse just wasn't getting to him, but it showed good experience getting in between horses that day. Since the last race, he's been training well. I like that they've taken him to the gate. Also, I'm going to give him the shot at 2-1. I think the 1-horse Beautiful Thief, the first time started for George Weaver and Ira Ortiz Jr., should get a good trip also. 8-1, he's on the morning line, but I think this horse will go half of that at post. But this 2-year-old filly by Dialed In making first start. Most recent workout came half mile on the muddy Oklahoma track in 49-2, the second best workout of 8, and a half mile drill 2 weeks ago from the gate and 48-3, 17th best workout 7-2. I like that they have some great workouts with this one. Looks like she could have some speed. I'll give this horse a shot at 8-1. The George Weaver 2-year-olds have really been firing this season, and also give a shot to the 10-horse Inca Mummy for Mike Mager and Luis Saez. Another horse, the workout patterns haven't been half bad. Has some speed with Chaparral Azteca on the sire side. Again, watch out for this horse late. But to recount my selection for the third from the Saratoga, I'm going to take the 7-horse Graham. Give kudos to the winning horse Beautiful Thief and the 10-horse Inca Mummy. 7-1-10-9 Super. 7-1-10 in your multi-race. The featured 4th race from Saratoga, it is the Honorable Miss Handicap. It's a grade 2 event going for a $200,000 purse race for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upwards. Only 4 horses going 1,200 meters or 6 furlongs in this year's Honorable Miss. It seems like there's every year this race always has a 5 or 4 horse or 6 horse field. There's never more than 6 horses in this race, but it's always an exciting race. I think you have a good matchup here between Echo Zulu and Frank Roquette, and that's actually my exacta. I'm going to go 1-2 here in this race. As a top selection, use the 1-horse Echo Zulu, 4-year-old filly by Gunrunner. Steve Asmussen trains for Laurent Giroux, getting them out. Most recently ran the horse 29th of May at Churchill, 6 furlongs in the grade 3 winning colors. Off the bench, the horse went by 5 3/4 lengths, and at 31 cents to the dollar, he took off clear on the front end. A very, very good, strong run. Coming here today, facing older horses. Again, I'm going to give this horse a shot to win. This horse likes Saratoga, especially as a 2-year-old, but hasn't been seen here since that 2-year-old victory. But 2 back, the horse ran in the Breeze Cup Filly Mare Sprint at Keeneland, 7 furlongs, 5th of November. First time facing older horses. She ran terrifically. If she had a better poster, she probably would have made the race a lot interesting than she did late, but she finished second by 2 1/4 lengths from the 12 hole. She left. She was stupidly wide. She just couldn't catch Goodnight Olive, who was the next start winner and absolutely freaked that day, but she ran her heart out against some very tough horses, and that race looks like it was a very strong Breeders' Cup race. And then prior to that, in the dogwood, Churchill, 7 furlongs on the 24th of September, win by 5.5 lengths. Basically on the front end, she put on a show, a very good run off the bench. Prior to that, they ran her in the Kentucky Oaks. She finished 4th by 3 lengths. I just don't know if she wants to go a 2-turn routing trip. She won 2 turns in the Breeders' Cup and in the Fairgrounds Oaks, but the Fairgrounds Oaks, she was really decreasing margin victory late. I do like her around the 1 turn. She won the Frazetta as a 2-year-old quite nicely, won the Spinaway here quite nicely, being Tarabi, who was a decent horse, and then beat Lady Scarlet in a main special here as a 2-year-old opening weekend of 2021. So she likes this track. She's coming here. Watch out for her. I love the 2-horse Frank's Rocket that she's still running as a 6-year-old. She's always just, she'll run these clunkers and then her form will be back to grade A form. Like last time out, she won the Roxalana opening day Churchill quite nicely, won the Hurricane Birdie, won the Sugar Swirl on New Year's Eve at Gulfstream. She ran a disappointing race in the Breeders' Cup, but she always runs these random races and good races. She finished second in this race behind Kamari last year, came back to win the Pink Ribbon by over a half a dozen. I like her a lot. She could definitely win on paper. I'll give her a shot on the ticket, but like I said, I think it's a 2-horse race between these two. But to recap my selection for the 4th from Saratoga now, it's the honorable miss. Going to take the 1-horse Echo Zulu, give kudos to the 2-horse Frank's Rocket, 1-2 Exacta. He's on both in the multi-race. The 5th event now from Saratoga. It is a claiming event going for a $50,000 purse race for 3-year-olds and upwards. Number 1 for 2 races here, going for a $35,000 claiming price. We have a field of 14 horses entered, 11 and 12 are AEs, 13, 14 are MTOs, so 10 will go to the inner turf course, 1,700 meters, or the mile 16th trip. I love the 1-horse Quality G, 1978 for me in the superfecta, 1978 super, top selection of 1-horse Quality G, this 4-year-old gelding by Quality Road, Todd Pletcher trains, Manny Franco gets the mounts. The horse's most recent outing came 2nd of June at Monmouth, a mile 16th in the lounge race, 58,000. First time older horses, he didn't do a lot. He finished 8th by 10.25 lengths that day. He was very fractious, and he just, he showed something early on the first 2 furlongs of the show, and then completely crumbled. Back to claiming company, it was second off the bench. He's in a better spot to win. Todd Pletcher has very good numbers, 28% coming to claiming company. 2 back, the horse ran the Tail of Cat of 2022 at Monmouth at mile 16th there, and he finished second by a half a length that day. He stalked, he had the lead, he got caught late. What can you do? He ran his heart out that day, and the Jersey Derby of 2022 at Monmouth over the mile, he finished third by a half length. Again, he has the lead, but then he just doesn't keep going. He's just very lackadaisical late. He hasn't won since his main victory that came at Gulfstream on the Tapeta on Florida Derby Day 2022. Mile 70 there in that main special weight. He won by 3/4 the length. He had to be used a lot that day, but he got the job done. I think he's the kind of horse when he gets to the front end, just keep going on him. But he's training well since the last run. Down in claiming ranks where Todd Pletcher has decent numbers. I'm going to give this horse a shot to win. If you want to single him, I totally understand. I think there's a second likeliest winner with there being the 9-horse St. Joe Louis for Joel Rosario and Chad Brown. He might need the race off the bench, but his most recent race at Aqueduct, he should have won. He finished second by a neck that day. He was stupidly wide, and he just missed late, but he ran his heart out behind inflation adjusted. Prior to that, here at Saratoga, mile 16th in the claiming 50, he finished second by length. Again, stupidly wide, but he was gaining that day from the wide posture. And then he nearly won a claiming 30 at Monmouth last summer. He hasn't won since 2021 where he broke the main, but he's always run these good races. He doesn't have a lot of forwardly pace, but he's always coming late. He's traded well in Monmouth. I'll give this horse a shot at the 3-1 on the pick 4 or the pick 5, whatever we decide to play. Pick 6 begins with this race also, but I like I said, I also totally understand singling Quality G. But your account my selection for the 5th from Saratoga, going to take the 1-horse Quality G. Give kudos to the 9-horse St. Joe Louis, 1978 Super, 1-9 in your multi race. Let's get to the late pick 5, the 6th race from Saratoga. The 6th event from Saratoga, it's an allowance race going for $95,000 purse race for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upwards, statebreds here. We have a field of 7 horses taking a stroll around the Saratoga main track, which is 1,800 meters in circumference, or a mile and 1/8 on the main track. Going to take the 1-horse Ichiban as a top selection, 1-2-5-7 in the superfecta for me. 1-2-5-7 super, top selection in 1-horse Ichiban, 3-year-old filly by Street Sense, Linda Rice trains, Jose Ortiz gets the mount. Jose Ortiz coming back from a small injury last week, so that's going to be good to see him back. Most recently ran the horse 15th of July at Saratoga, 7 furlongs on a fast main track in a main special weight, and he won by 2 3/4 lengths that day, and basically from a tracking trip on the front end, he really took off clear. I don't really think they got to the bottom of the horse. With a quick turnaround here today of about 11 days, shouldn't be a problem. I think the horse could really run a good race and get to the winner's circle again today. around 2 turns. Prior to that, the horse ran the 25th of June at Belmont, 1 mile in the main special weight, 72,000, and the horse finished second by 2 1/4 lengths that day. And he just kind of stalked, was a little bit flat late. He needed something more, but he didn't run half bad there behind Big Hazel. And then prior to that, on the 15th of April at Aqueduct, mile 16th in the state bred main special weight, he didn't do running. He finished 12th by 39 lengths that day. He was wide, and he just didn't like the turf that day. Not a turf horse. Prior to that, he showed some potential going 7 in the main special weight, where he finished 5th by 8 lengths. He showed some speed early on, but then just kind of hit the wall. But he's definitely been improving. He's training well at Belmont. I'm going to give him a shot here, second off the bench, or second with a quick turnaround. The 2-horse April Antics, I think, could win also for Mercantile and Caramanchi. Jose Lascano gets a mount. Most recent allowance race on 3rd of July at Belmont over the mile. He finished second by 2 1/4 lengths that day, and he didn't get out of the gate so clearly, but he was really closing up well late. I thought he showed good potential after, in the final furlong there. Prior to then claiming 25,000 at Belmont over the mile. Finished second by 4 lengths again, stupidly wide, but he was gaining that day. And then the slap over the mile, claiming 14. He finished third by 6.5 lengths that day. Again, a little bit wide, but he showed potential. His victory on the 7th of April could definitely win against these horses. Around 2 turns for the first time in a minute. I'll give him a shot here. And also the 5-horse Big Hazel. He won on the 25th of June, beating Ichiban home that day in that main special where he won by 1.5 lengths, dueling it out that day. Prior to that, in the mud, going 6 10 days prior, he finished 6 by 2 1/4 lengths that day. Was just a little bit wide, and then his turf efforts were just never really shown that day. He never showed a lot. But if you go with his dirt efforts, he's really become a better horse. He's training well. I'm gonna give him a shot on the ticket. He could definitely win also in this very wide open late pick 5 head race. But to recap my selection for the 6 from Saratoga, I'm gonna take the 1-horse Ichiban, give kudos to the 2-horse April Antics and the 5-horse Big Hazel. 1, 2, 5, 7 super. Let's go 1, 2, 5 in the multi race. The pick 4 begins with race number 7, the late pick 4 that is. It's allowance optional claimer purse, $162,500. Races for 3-year-olds and upwards. Number 1, 18,000 3 times. And the main claim starter, state bred allowance race, or it's number 1, blah 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 blah. Optional claim price 80,000. 11 horses enter. 10 and 11 are MTOs. 9 will go 1,100 meters or 5.5 furlongs on the Mellon Turf course. I'm gonna take the 2-horse Our Shot as a top selection. 2583 for me in the superfecta. 2583 super. Top selection 2-horse Our Shot. This 4-year-old gelding by Cantheros here. John Terranova the second trains this one. Luis Saez gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came the 18th of June at Monmouth, 5 furlongs in the Get Serious, and the horse finished second by 3/4 length that day. And from the outside, he was a little bit wide that day, but he settled well from the back of the pack. He closed up like an express train lady, he just missed, but he ran his heart out. If the race was 5.5 furlongs like they normally run at Monmouth on the turf, he probably would have won, but he ran a great race. Prior to that, for a 102,000 allowance race at Keeneland, 5.5 furlongs, 26th of April, he won by 3 lengths that day, and basically on the front end, he kept going. Wicked fast fractions, and he was an express train that day, and coming home with career best 98 buyer. Nothing bad about that race. And then they ran him on the dirt at Tampa, 5.5 and ops 32. He won by 1/4 lengths. He sat back early after not the best beginnings that day, but he circled the field late. A very good dirt effort. He has a lot of speed. Also, he could rate a little bit, which I don't think is half bad. I want to go back to a race on the 20th of May. That was a terrific race at Pimlico last season. 5 furlongs in Lions race, won by a head, breaking from 13 to 14. He was stupidly wide that day, and he closed up like nothing. So he could close up like nothing, or he could set the pace. I like that with this horse. He's training well. 7-2. Let's use him on the ticket. I think the 5-horse, the then White Duke, a horse I always back, it seems, should get a good trip. He ran a terrific race at going at Belmont on a yielding turf course, going 7 on July 4th, where he finished second by length, just missing that day. They ran the Jaipur, where he just showed up against 2 tough horses, and then the Elusive Quality showed up against 2 tough horses. But he's the kind of horse, he likes his turf course. He's 5 for 1 on it, but he runs 3/3 a place here on this turf course, so 4 out of 5 on the money here. Watch out for him. He could definitely win. He's also training well. And also the 8-horse Arrest Me Red, first time Lasix for this horse. He's been running exclusively in turf in stakes races in the last few seasons, but he's another horse. He always shows up, it seems. Last time in the Jaipur, he just had a 2 tough trip from wide post draw, but he hasn't won since the turf sprint of 2022 at Churchill. But again, always runs these good races. It wouldn't surprise me. Let's use him in the multis here. But to recount my selection for the seventh from Saratoga, gonna take the 2-horse Our Shot. Give kudos to the 5-horse Thin White Duke and the 8-horse Arrest Me Red. 2-5-8-3 Super, 2-5-8 in your multi race. That's probably one of the best races of the card, I think. The 8th race from Saratoga, it's an allowance optional claimer purse, $100,000. Race for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upwards, state breds. We have a field of 7 horses taking a lap around the Saratoga main track, which is 1,800 meters in circumference, or a mile and an eighth on that main track. The 1-horse Cinderella Causes is my top selection. I'm going to go 1-6-5-2 in the superfecta, 1-6-5-2 super. Top selection 1-horse Cinderella Causes, 5-year-old mare by Congrats here. Rob Falcone trains one. Manny Franco gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came 2nd July at Belmont, a mile and optional 45 for state breds, and the horse finished 3rd by 4 lengths that day, and she just kind of stalked that day. She needed something more late, which she didn't have. Maybe she needed the race that day. Around 2 turns where she could be forwardly paced and set her own fractions. I'm going to give her a shot with that today. 2 back going a mile 16th option 45 at Belmont. She finished 2nd by 7.5 lengths behind Bustin Bay, who was a next start winner and won quite nicely next start out. This horse was just wide, and she just couldn't keep up with a slightly better horse that day. And then at Belmont, 1 mile allowance race for $80,000 for state breds. She won by 4 1/4 lengths that day. And again, a little bit wide, but she kept coming. A very, very good victory for her there. Since getting claimed to the new connections of the Falcone barn, and since increasing trips, she's really become a better horse. I'm going to give her a shot around 2 turns here. I think she could walk the dog. I think the 6-horse BB Busted for Jeffrey Engelhardt could win also. Most recently at Finger Lakes going mile 70 in the state bred optional 10. She won by a neck, closing up from nowhere. I thought she ran a terrific race after a horrible beginning where she jumped out of the gate. Again, prior to that, in the state bred allowance race at Finger Lakes on a field seal going a mile 70 10 days prior, she won by 14.5, and again, she put on a show that day. She doesn't have a lot of forwardly pace, but if there's a horse that could gain some ground late, I think it could be her. At 4-1, I would use her on the ticket. And also the 5-horse here, Sweet Mystery, for Trevor McCarthy and Patrick Quick, hasn't won in quite a while since the fall at Aqueduct, but she's another horse that could gain ground. I think she should definitely get the trip. I would use her in the pick 4 to end it off, to add to the ticket. But to recount my selection for the 8th from Saratoga now, I'm going to take the 1-horse Cinderella Claus, give kudos to the 6-horse BB Bus and the 5-horse Sweet Mystery, 1-6-5-2 Super, 1-6-5 in the multi-race. The 9th event now from Saratoga, going to the inner turf course, and we're going to be staying quite a bit for this one. The 9th race, it's an allowance race, purse $149,500. Race for fillies mares, 3-year-olds and upwards, never won $18,000 on the main claim starter, state bred allowance race, which never won 2 races here. We have a field of 12 horses entered, 11 and 1A. 13 horses entered. 11 and 1A are both AEs, 12 is an MTO. So we'll have a field of 11 horses going to the turf course, or 10 horses, or whatever. 10 horses going to the turf course. The distance of ground of 2,200 meters, or a mile 3/8 on the inner turf course. Rails are up at 18 feet. And something to keep in mind out, these mile 3/8 races here at Saratoga on the inner turf course have such a long run up. They're basically about a mile 7/16, so mile 3.5 furlongs opposed to mile 3 furlongs. So it's, it should really be about distance. So you want a horse with stamina, and they're completely different races than you would see at Belmont going a mile and a quarter, even a mile 3/8 on the inner turf course. So don't handicap them. I don't handicap them like I would be handicapping races from Belmont going a long distance trip. But with that being said, I'm going to take the 7-horse Ellie Est Forte as a top selection. 7-1-4-6 for me in the superfecta. 7-1-4-6 super. Top selection 7-horse Ellie Est Forte. This 5-year-old mare by Flinsher. Ian Wilkes trends 1. Luis Saez gets the mount. Horse hasn't been seen since the 18th of May. That came at Churchill. Mile 3/8 and allowance race 101,000. And the horse finished 2nd by 3.5 lengths that day. She had a little bit of a tough trip where she had the track a few times. She got to the front end, she was drifting late, which probably cost her. Frivolo just caught this horse, but she did run decently. Back to a longer trip, which she's improved, which she likes doing. I think she could run a good race here today. 2 back at Keeneland on the 16th of April, mile and a half in allowance race, 102,000. She finished 2nd by length that day, and again, she's just kind of stalked that day. She just couldn't catch the winner who outgamed her, but she ran her heart out that day. And then the 5th of March at Gulfstream, mile 3/8 and ops 35 claimer. She finished 7 by 11 1/4 lengths that day, and she just kind of stalked and completely hit the wall. I don't know if she liked the turf course. She ran terrifically in ops 35 at Gulfstream, going a mile and a half on the 5th of January, where she finished 2nd by 6 lengths. The winner, Broadway Boogie, walked that thing and kept going, but she ran her heart out that day on that that turf course. And then at Aqueduct last September, going mile 3-8, she found a decent second place finish, making the Saratoga debut. She's training well. I think she could win. I'll use her on the ticket along with the one horse here, who is Avenue Niel for Christophe Clement and Joel Rosario. First start stateside, but most recently in the Prix Joubert at Longchamp over the mile 3/4 soft ground last September. She finished third by 1/4 lengths. She just wasn't staying the extra 2 furlongs, cutting back 3 furlongs to mile 3.5 today should really suit her well. Prior to that Vichy over the 1.5 miles, she had a massive place on heavy ground, and then the Prix d'Estet handicap at Longchamp last September. She really ran a terrific race on the front end. She's another horse, she should really go up with fast ground. At 5-2, I'm going to use her in the late pick 4. But to recount my selection from the 9th from Saratoga, going to take the 7 horse Elias Forte, give kudos to the 1 horse in Avenue Niel, 7-1-4-6 Super, 7-1 in your multi race. The nightcap, the 10th event from Saratoga now. It is a maiden claiming event, going for a $50,000 purse, race for maidens, 3-year-olds and upwards, state breds here, going for that $40,000 claim price. 15 and we have a field of 16 horses entered. 15 and 1A are MTOs, so and 13 and 14 are AE, so 12 will go to the Mellon Turf Course, 1,700 meters a trip, or mile 16th on that Mellon Turf Course. I'm going to take the 8 horse Conquest as a top selection, 8-11-5-3 for me in the superfecta, 8-11-5-3 super, top selection 8 horse Conquest. This 4-year-old gelding by Nyquist, John Kimmel trains, Luis Saez gets to mount. Horse's most recent ad came 3rd July at Belmont, a mile 16th on the inner and a maiden 40,000 for state breds, and the horse finished second by length that day and left, setting some quick fractions for inner turf course races at Belmont, setting the pace. He got caught late. He ran his heart out. Refreshing here where he I would like to see him forwardly paced from the wide post draw, but if he comes from a little bit farther out, it wouldn't be half bad. I think he could, improve off that last run back to the claiming ranks, or coming second to the claiming ranks. 2 back in the main special at Belmont, 7 furlongs, 29th of May. First off the bench, he finished 11 by 14 lengths, had a horrible beginning, and just completely crumbled. He just wasn't that good that day. And then down at Goldstream, mile 16th, and Tapete off the turf in the main special weight. He finished 6 by 8 lengths that day, and again, just completely crumbled. After Saratoga last year, he's really, his form really fell, but his form last summer wasn't bad. He placed going a mile here on 2nd of September in the main special where he finished 2nd by 3/4 length. Carlin's Wisdom caught him, but he really, had some grit that day to really run a terrific race. Prior to that, in the mile 16th main special weight, he finished 2nd by 1/4 lengths, but was placed 4th through disqualification because he had a little bumping that day, which cost the 3rd place horse. It was the right call, but he liked this turf course last year. Come back to it again today. I'm gonna give him a shot on the ticket. I think the 11 horse here, Your Mission for Jose Lascano and Jorge Abreu, could get the job done. Most recent, the 1st July, going mile 16th in the main 40. He finished 3rd by 2 1/4 lengths that day and didn't get out of the gate so clearly that day, especially from going a mile 16th at Belmont on the inner, which is very hard to do getting out of the gate. He didn't break. He was behind the A-ball. He was gaining late, but it was just a little bit too late for him that day. Prior to 13th of May, going mile 16th in the main 40 at Belmont. First off the bench, he finished 2nd by 1/4 lengths that day, and he stalked. He had the lead, and then he just, got caught late. He just was 100% fresh. Back to claiming company. I'm going to give him a shot on the ticket. He could definitely win to end off this pick 4. But to recount my selection for the nightcap, the 10th race from Belmont, going to take the 8 horse Conquest. Give kudos to the 11 horse Your Mission. 8-11-5-3 super. 8-11 in your multi race. So good luck to all, and please follow me on Twitter at HorseRacingKid5. Good luck, everybody.